Hello and welcome to another episode of the PT Special Revision series. This is episode number 6, and as I have told you to please revise the previous 5 episodes as you might forget in the days to come. So let's start with the first topic of today's episode, that is World Wildlife Day. Now, World Wildlife Day, as it was designated by the United Nations General Assembly, that 3rd March will be celebrated as the World Wildlife Day in order to mark the importance of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, as it was signed on March 3rd, 1973. Why is this day celebrated? In order to raise awareness about the endangered wildlife when it comes to the wildlife in plants as well as animals. And the theme for the World Wildlife Day 2021 has been Forest and Livelihoods, Sustaining People and Planet, how we are interdependent on the resources of forest, and demonstrate the importance of forest as well as species and ecosystem services in the sustainable livelihoods of the people. Moving on. So, March 3rd was specifically chosen, as I told you, as a special day to mark the signing or to increase awareness of the animals and plants. And the convention aims to assess the impact of trade on wildlife and plants. I am talking about the convention with respect to trade in endangered flora and fauna, that is CITES. And the convention is legally binding for all the member states. If we talk about CITES, what is it basically? It is a regulatory treaty between 183 members, and it works to have first to conserve the species, wildlife species which are endangered, and to promote controlled trade of those species, and it does it through categorization and licensing. That means it has 3 appendices, 1, 2 and 3. 3 appendices are there. So in appendix 1, those species which are highly endangered, the prohibition is there on their trade. And in the second appendix, those species which are endangered but it's of utmost importance for them to be traded when necessary will be allowed according to appendix 2. But the exporter of those species will have to acquire a permit certificate from CITES and not the importer. Suppose I am a country and I am exporting a species, in appendix 2, I have to acquire the permit certificate. And in the third one, not so much of protection is there, only the certificate of origin is important. So this is CITES, and this is directly related to the IUCN Red List, and that was of course introduced in the year 1964. Okay, the Red List of Threatened Species. Now let's talk about olive ridley turtles. Olive ridley turtles stay away from Drishti in Odisha this year, and this is, according to experts, a natural phenomenon. Now in the IUCN Red List, let's talk about this turtle, the olive ridley turtles. They are the smallest and the most abundant of turtles, and they are carnivorous in nature. They get their name from the color of their outer shell, and it is olive in color. That is why they are known as olive ridley turtle. And if we talk about their status in the IUCN, they are included in the vulnerable list, and international trade of these species are in the appendix 1. That means it is prohibited. So the 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐥𝐢𝐬 Marine Sanctuary is a very important sanctuary for olive ridley turtles, and they also have a very important phenomenon added to their species, that is aribadas. What is aribadas? Aribadas is a process when the female olive ridley turtles come and lay eggs and have their nest in a community level. At a community level, lots of female olive ridley turtles come together and lay eggs. So this is known as aribadas. All right, let's move forward and talk about 5th Environment Assembly. So the assembly was held on February 22nd to 23rd on 2021, and it emphasizes redefining the relationship with nature. That means how humans should redefine their relationship with nature in order not to just exploit nature, but sustainable development of the humans, the economy, and the environment as well. And the theme is strengthening actions for nature to achieve the sustainable development goals. There is a need to strengthen activities in relation to nature. And on this occasion, United Nations Environment Programme released a report named Making Peace with Nature. United Nations Environment Programme is an environmental authority which was established on 5th of June 1972, and it is headquartered at Nairobi, Kenya. It also produces some other very important report, such as Global Emission Gap Report. First is that Emission Gap Report, World Environment Outlook, also Frontiers and Invest into a Healthy Planet. These are the important reports of UNEP. Alright, moving forward, a scientific blueprint to tackle the climate, biodiversity and pollution emergencies. This is, of course, a report by the UNEP. And this is the first synthesis report by UNEP, which is based on the Global Environment Impact Assessment. What is Environmental Impact Assessment? It is an assessment of the results of any developmental or economic activity on nature. And sustainable development goals will be easier to achieve if environmental crises are accordingly tackled. Because if we do not look at the environmental crises and only think about developing economically, what will happen? Certain problems, certain environmental crises will happen, disasters will happen, and we will go back to where we started from. And Sustainable Development Goals 2030, it includes 17 goals. Moving on, emphasis on the goal of making the world carbon neutral by 2050 is there. Carbon neutral means we need to absorb the carbon that we emit. That means if we are undergoing certain economic activities which are giving carbon footprint, we need to absorb those carbon in order to recycle it again. Okay? And it has been suggested to include natural capital in the measurement of economic performance. What is natural capital? Natural capital is the accounting of or keeping a stock of renewable as well as non-renewable. These two combinations are included, which yield benefits to the humans. Moving on, study on pollution. A study on air pollution has been released, in which Delhi is the only city from India in the top 5 cities of the world suffering with air pollution, and that is why getting smog towers was very important for Delhi. The list includes Mexico City, Shanghai, Tokyo and Sao Paulo as well. And an online tool called Cost Estimator has been used to estimate the number of deaths, because air pollution leads to deaths when we talk about people who are already suffering from lung diseases. Moving on, Greenpeace deployed this tool in several cities in collaboration with 𝐈𝐀𝐒 and the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. And this tool estimates what is the real-time effect of fine particulate matter, that is PM 2.5, on human health. Now, remember everything which I am encircling because of a reason, because those are the words that we need to keep in mind. It can be distorted, like PM10. Here it could be PM10, but no, we have to remember it is PM 2.5. Now, Greenpeace is a network of national and regional organizations basically, and it has been working in 55 countries in order to look out for any changes in the environment, and it has been in process of this since the year 1971. Okay, moving on. Carbon Watch app, which is a mobile app named Carbon Watch. It was launched in Chandigarh, and any person who lives in Chandigarh, it can download this, he or she can download this app and register and accordingly feed data in different categories such as water, energy. There are 4 categories basically: water, energy, waste, and transport. So in these 4 categories, I as an individual in Chandigarh, I can feed the data, how much water I have consumed, how much energy I have consumed, how much waste I have produced, and how much transport I have used. So that will of course give out a detailed analysis of what is my carbon footprint. That means what is the amount of greenhouse gas I am emitting. And Chandigarh is the first state or the union territory to launch this app. The app will be helpful in calculating the footprint emitted by the individual. And the person downloading the application, as I told you, has to provide information in these categories. Information will be have to given in the following format, as I told you, and on the basis of information, the results will be there. Okay. Now, changing rainfall patterns in MAWSYNRAM. MAWSYNRAM is a town in Meghalaya, and research on the rainfall patterns has been done in the area near Cherrapunji in MAWSYNRAM. Study of rainfall data over the last 119 years have been undertaken. Reason for the change in the landfall patterns has been attributed to the change in temperature of the Indian Ocean. And MAWSYNRAM is the wettest site in the world with an annual rainfall of 10,000 millimeter. And in the last few decades, vegetation in the northeastern region has decreased, and the main reason is the continuous increase in cropland. Okay, so if continuous increase in cropland will be there, vegetation will be disturbed, and accordingly moisture will also not be held, because trees and soils, these are very important for holding moisture for precipitation. This is one of the reasons. And signs of decline in jhum cultivation, which is also known as shifting cultivation in the northeast, and other measures are being followed in the place of, because other measures have started taking place in the instead of jhum cultivation that is happening. Jhum cultivation has been in practice since the Neolithic ages, and people who are involved in jhum cultures are known as jhumia. So what happens, suppose this is a vegetation area, forest area. People who are jhumias, they will dry this area, burn this area down before monsoon, and crop the area before monsoon. After harvest, they will leave the land fallow for the land to regenerate itself, so that another cropping season can be undertaken in the same area. So this is not working anymore in the northeast area. That is a problem. More and more land is demanded because of this. And northeast was selected for analysis because its sensitivity to global climate change. Moving on, blue earthworm, let's talk about. First, let's see how does it look. This is a blue earthworm. And so blue earthworms, research have been done on them, and they are specially found in Khasi Hills. Scientific name is Perionyx macintoschi. Okay, and they migrate twice a year. How many times? Twice a year, to the upper slopes in the spring, while in autumn to the lower slopes. All right, remember this. And these earthworms, they migrate to escape any sort of climate change, the ill impacts of climate change. And these blue earthworms, they have given an increase in soil fertility. Their benefits for soil, it is of utmost importance that we need to understand their pattern of movement. So soil fertility, how does it increase? Because they thrive on the decaying matter, and because of other inorganic matters are there. So they feed on that, and accordingly they help in recycling the nature of the soil. So that is why it is important. They are also suitable in eco-friendly, sustainable organic farming. That means not to use any sort of chemicals when we talk about farming. And decrease in numbers due to discrete land use and stone cutting. Because of that only, it is a problem for their migration. Moving on, World Wetland Day. So World Wetland Day is celebrated on 2nd of February. What is a wetland? A soil which is covered with heavy amount of water is known as wetland. So any area as you can see, mangroves, swamps, tidal swamps, as well as lakes, rivers, these all are wetlands. And theme for 2021 was wetlands and water. The Convention on Wetland completed 50 years this year in 2021 because the Ramsar Convention, it was signed in 1971. It has the mandate of conserving wetlands, and India has 46 wetlands. Recently, 4 new wetlands were added. Bindwas, we have also covered this in one of our episodes. Bindwas wetland from Haryana, Sultanpur from Haryana, Thol and Vadhavan from Gujarat. So remember that, okay? On this occasion, India's first Center for Wetland Conservation and Management was announced. It will be established as a part of National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management at Chennai, and it will act as a knowledge hub. Whatever knowledge is important for the conservation of wetland will be available here. And Ramsar Convention is an intergovernmental treaty, and also it talks about, there are Ramsar sites 46 in number in India, and these wetlands are very important for the proper functioning of the ecosystem. So how is it? Wetlands, they occupy approximately 4.6 of the total land area of India, and if we talk about the entire world, it's approximately 6%. 40% of animals and plants, they thrive on wetlands. And importance of wetlands are as such, they protect from flood. As we saw urban flooding this year, so much of urban flooding was there because of the lack and absence of wetlands to absorb water. So much concretization has been done that the water did not have anywhere to go, and that is why so many ditches and pits have been flooded with water. Drought and other calamities provides food and livelihood for millions of people, suitable for rich biodiversity, and also very important for sequestering and absorbing carbon. Okay. Next is World Sustainable Development Summit. It has been organized by Tata Energy Resource Institute. The theme is redefining our common future and safe and secure environment for all. Redefining word, this word is a key word in many of the themes, because of course we need to rethink the amount and the quality plus the frequency of economic development that we need. Also, India is committed to reduce carbon emission by 30 to 35% of its GDP when we compare the years 2030 to 2005. This is one of the nationally determined contributions by India, and WSDS is the flagship event of TERI only, Tata Energy Resource Institute. It is aimed at bringing governments, business, academia, scientists and youth on a platform to fight climate change. So many sectors will be brought together at one place so that brainstorming can occur. And Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and Ministry of Earth Sciences, these were the key partners. Remember these as well. I hope you're taking notes or screenshots. So for you, I have also tried to make the matter come at a middle place so that I can also tell you the important things and you can also see it on the board. And TERI is an independent and multidisciplinary organization. What is it? It is an independent and multidisciplinary. That means it works in different disciplines. It does in-depth research on topics like climate change and environment. And focus areas are promoting effective use of resources, increasing access to sustainable processes, and reduce impact on the environment and climate. So multidisciplinary. Moving on, coal burning is responsible for heavy air pollution. So IEA-CCC report on emission has said that coal combustion is the main cause of air pollution, as coal is responsible for emitting so much of carbon. As it is made by coalification, it has stored greenhouse gases such as carbon, sulfur. So because of that only it is happening. The problem is that India has a lot of dependence on coal, and 72% of the energy needs, electric energy needs, is fulfilled with the help of coal. even if we start relying a lot on renewable energy sources. It is supposed to be doubled by the year 2040 because of the increase in economic activities due to rise in population. And emphasis on enforcement of emission standards and clean and coal power is given here. That means we need to put cap on emissions. Also, clean coal power should be there. Even if we burn coal, the carbon emissions, how to trap, store and use it for further days. You can do it by clean coal power. And in the absence of pollution control technology, coal-based thermal power plants are the major emission sectors because no cap is there, no prohibition is there, and that is why the reason thermal coal power plants are emitting so much. So these plants account for more than half of the total sulfur dioxide emission, and these are responsible for 30% emission of potent greenhouse gases such as nitrous oxide and 20% of particulate matter. Transport and industry sectors are also second major cause of air pollution. The report has suggested that old coal-fired power plants, they should be decommissioned. That means their working should be prohibited. And it highlights the need for carbon capture storage technology. See, carbon is getting emitted. We need to capture it with the technology so that it can be recycled. So this is carbon capture technology. Moving on, one more tiger reserve in Tamil Nadu has been announced. There has been demand for tiger corridor in the state for a long time for the safe passage of tigers. If we look at tigers, look at it. So India has 70% of the tigers of the world, and their IUCN status is endangered. They are prohibited under Appendix 1 of CITES for trade amongst the species, and also under Wildlife Protection Act, they are under Schedule 1. That means rigorous protection of tigers should be there. And in India, the largest number of tigers, highest number of tigers are in Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka. And the third is Uttarakhand. Alright. So, National Tiger Conservation Authority has done a great job when we talk about their work under Project Tiger. So, here we are going to talk about Tiger Reserve. Tiger Corridor has been made connecting Meghamalai and Srivili-Puthur Grizzled Squirrel Wildlife Sanctuary and Periyar Tiger Reserve so that their passage can be safe for movement. Number of tiger reserves in the country has increased to 51, and most tiger reserves are in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. There are 6 big tiger reserves in both these areas, and Kanha Tiger Reserve of Madhya Pradesh is the first tiger reserve to have its own mascot, Bhur Singh the Barasingha. And Nagarjuna Srisalam Tiger Reserve of Andhra Pradesh is the largest tiger reserve in the country in terms of area. Remember this. Which one? Nagarjuna Srisalam. And because of the area, this is the largest tiger reserve in the country. Tamil Nadu already has 4 tiger reserves, namely Kalakkad, Mundun, Thurai, also Annamalai, Muddumalai and Satyamangalam Tiger Reserve. Okay. Moving on. I have already discussed with you about the status of tiger. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall come again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.